I can remember growing up, my mum used to ring the police constantly.
Oh yeah, I've had the police out on many occasions for the children being sort of bullied in the street. They say they help, but I don't think they do.
Talking to the police officer on the phone, and even though I told him like my children got physically assaulted every day, my windows are being smashed, you know, they're constantly banging on my door, they're calling us pikey, jippo, and I think that up there they was calling us jakey, and he said, well actually they're not committing any crime whatsoever. Yeah, it's not actually, they're not being discriminative because, you know, he obviously assumed that gypsies weren't an ethnic group.
The amount of times I rang the police, I was such and such has stolen from the shop, but they've given us racist abuse by stealing from the shop. Police come, yeah, we'll get back to you. 6 weeks later, 7 weeks later, or a couple of weeks, you're still ringing the police up. What's going on? Nothing has happened. And to be honest, my mum got the attitude of no one's helping us, and I just want out of Hereford.
I don't think the police can deal with racism. They don't know how to deal with racism. Maybe they haven't been trained in that aspect of dealing with what people are moving into this area. They're not ready to deal with them, you know, especially with the European door open. They're not ready to deal with that aspect either. They haven't been trained.
Or is it the fact that they choose to say, right, this doesn't go on in Hereford?
But it does.
My name's Philip Edwards. I'm a police sergeant in West Mercia Police here in Herefordshire. Statistically, we have probably about 5 hate crimes a week. And I would say 80% of those, so 4 out of 5, are usually something to do with race. Well, I think that any person who is victimised in any way can feel very isolated and very vulnerable. And, you know, it's very important from a policing perspective that we do all we can to ensure the victim is reassured and kept informed about how things are going. The organisation is very sensitive to victims of any crime, but particularly hate crime, because, you know, we are aware, and that officers' training has helped us to raise their awareness as well in how difficult it is to be a victim of hate crime. Obviously, not being black, not being a gypsy traveller, not being from an Asian background, I can't tell you what it's like, but you can imagine what it's like if you are a victim of crime, in any sort of crime, where you are victimised by people, and it's a very difficult situation for them.
It first come to light when the headmistress phoned me to say there'd been an incident at school. The youngest cashier had been called a nigger and chocolate face, but she didn't have time to speak to me, but she would speak to me the next day. But she was just concerned that cashier would come home and obviously tell her side of the story. I mean, the situation with the school at the moment is because they've tried to tackle this one particular girl, and actually, to my knowledge, of like insulting Yodi, and actually took them both into the office at the same time, and it was one said this, she said that, I said that, and nothing. So I said to Yodi, I said, well, let's just go down the other road of, if she says something again, just slap her. And then if the school phone me up and say to me, well, your daughter's just slapped somebody, I'll just say, well, there you go, that's what you get for like 12 months of racial abuse.
Because if you go to any school, any normal school in Hereford, there's only about possibly a tenth who are different nationalities. So there's a lot of racism that goes on in schools.
If we have high numbers of incidents coming from a school, they're all followed up anyway. But if there's a school that we're a bit worried about because there's so many incidents this term, what's going on, we will check that out and offer training. We have done that, and we are in some schools offering training. And more personal advice and support to staff. The huge majority of schools in Herefordshire do a great job. They do meet the needs of the diverse group, including race and disability, and attainment is very high, and pastoral issues are met extremely well. But wherever you go, whichever situation, even if with a school with an exemplary reputation, there could well be things that are going on from time to time that not desired. Generally speaking, we think things are reasonably well, but there are always going to be incidents that are that happen in schools, as anywhere where there are problems that are very difficult to resolve.
I think education. I think the young blood need to be educated from the start, and not treat ethnic people like the aliens.
Education is only good if the people want it.
I think educating people to accept people for who they are is the most important thing.
I think if children were trained from school and they had some sort of a lesson to do with race and diversity, I think maybe we could cut this abuse by the time they reach 20.
We do a lot of work in schools and dealing with bullying around both racial issues and other areas of diversity, particularly homophobia, and work with the teachers on their their PSHE classes and their classes that involve bullying, where we talk about things like racism. We have an event each year called Crucial Crew, where we have 1,500 school children that come every year, where we talk about things like racism and bullying and homophobia and the impact it has on the individual.
For those students who aren't getting their needs met in their view and are being racially harassed, etc., I would talk to their parents about it to follow up action. But schools are, I feel, extremely good at preventing situations like that occurring in the first place. But inevitably, human beings being what they are, it will happen from time to time.
If you're experiencing racism, contact the police. If you're living in housing, maybe even contact a housing officer, to see if they could give you help and advice, and contact the council.
Well, I think people just got to learn to sort of respect ethnic minorities and not offend, and I just think it's just somebody there providing a service or anything like that, and it needs somebody who's actually living and earning a living, and just like everybody else.
In my eyes, everybody's the same anyway. You've all got heart, you may have different colour skin, but you're all the same.
Even if you go to London, even if you go to Birmingham, you're always going to find racism wherever you go. You're always going to find a couple of people that are. But in whole, Hereford, I think, is a really nice, welcoming place. I mean, some people just wonder about, how do you live, how you live your life, or how do you do this, how do you do that? And always want to know. Some ask questions, some do this. So apart from that, it's a welcoming place. Yeah.
I enjoy working in this community, living in this community. I certainly don't have any calls to go back to Warwickshire. I'm going to sit it out in Hereford, despite the racist abuse. Live here with your mind open, with your eyes open. Don't not come here. Come here. It's an experience on its own. I mean, I certainly ain't going to be driven out from Hereford. I want to live here.
If they've got that frame of mind, they'll be okay.
Yeah, you've got to be confident. You've got to be confident, and you got to be ready for it. It's a challenging area to live in. I can tell you that now.